Welcome to Midnight Menu Plus One. I'm Ray Canada.
And I'm Margo Moss. Midnight Menu Plus One is a food lifestyle show. We are part of the family of shows on the podcast network, itsneworleans.com.
We've got a great show lined up for you tonight. And if you're hungry for more Midnight Menu Plus One, then we can dish up over the next 45 minutes. We have all kinds of extra stuff like recipes, guest gossip, sneak peeks into who's coming up next week, and much more. You can find it on our website, itsneworleans.com. Now, while you're there, you can check out our blog, you can sign up for our newsletter, you can follow us on all kinds of time-sucking social media. You can get all that info on itsneworleans.com or just Google Midnight Menu Plus One.
Tonight's show is brought to us by our friends at Appetit Pet Care, dog walking and pet sitting. Loving care when you're not there. You can find out all about Appetit Pet Care at their website, PETITPETCARE.com, or call them up at 504-300-9PET. Thanks also to Monkey Hill Bar on Magazine Street. Check out their happy hour weekdays from 3 to 8 p.m., $3.50 well drinks and $1 off beer, wine, and signature cocktails. Tell them Ray and Margo sent you.
Now, each week on Midnight Menu Plus One, Margo and I invite a member of New Orleans restaurant and food community to join us, and we invite them to bring along a friend, a plus one. We never know who their plus one's going to be. Sometimes it's a neighbor, a family member, a friend, a fellow restaurant business colleague. Our special guest tonight on Midnight Menu Plus One is Daniel Schumacher, the editor-in-chief of Louisiana Cookin. But before he gets here, Margo, what did you do in terms of food this week? What food adventures did you have?
Well, I went to a new week-old Turkish restaurant and hookah bar.
Where's that?
On Canal Street, an old gas station close to City Park Avenue.
And I hadn't heard about this yet. What's it called?
Well, it's called Haifa.
Haifa, okay,
Haifa.
nice. Oh, like the
Yes.
City in Israel.
I
No?
guess so.
Is it Haifa?
Yes, it is.
Ah, but they're Turkish.
They're Turkish.
Turkish Israelites, maybe. Okay.
Anyway,
I believe
well, the
you.
food was interesting.
Good?
Yes, I tried something called esme. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but it was delicious. It was like diced tomatoes with parsley and lemon juice and cucumber and Turkish spices, which I don't really know what Turkish spices are, like which spices those are, but it was delicious. It was kind of like a spicy sweet salsa. Nice.
All right.
Yeah. So did you eat anywhere this week?
You know, I did, but all I can think about is toast all the time. I'm obsessed with toast. Not the browned bread. I mean the restaurant toast that's going to be opening.
Oh.
Tartine's opening the second location, going to be a different menu in the former location of Laurel Street Bakery, the original one.
So they're not open yet?
No, but I go by like 3 times a day and peek in the window. Yeah.
So do you think it's
It
going to
looks like they're ready to open really soon.
Why
they're
are they
teasing
called toast if they have another place?
Maybe they're going to have some toast in this one. I'm not sure. I don't think I've had any toast in the other one. I've had everything on the menu in the other one. No toast available there. So maybe this one will just have lots of. I don't know. I'm not sure, but I'm excited. So yeah, I go by every day, and then when they're not open yet, then I go by Octavia Books, and I get I get a book or two, and I don't want to waste my time going down there, but yeah. So that was my. I can't remember anything else I did all week because I just kept obsessing about toast. It's time to meet our special guest. Daniel Schumacher is here. Welcome.
It's great to be here.
Thank you, Daniel, for joining us tonight. I have a question for you. Now, I read that you were working in New York City and moved somewhere in the South that is not New Orleans originally. And I'm very curious how someone from a food writer from New York City would move to the food mecca of the South, Birmingham, Alabama.
Yes. You know, it was always my dream as a child to move to Birmingham, Alabama. I'd heard these wonderful tales of its food scene. And, well, when I was in college and I realized that I wanted to do food writing and be a food editor, I knew that there weren't too many places I could do it on a national scale. There's New York, Birmingham, Des Moines, Iowa, Boston, L.A., and New Orleans.
Really?
Like that.
Des
Those are
Moines, Iowa, and Birmingham in there. Why
Yes.
is that?
Did not expect that.
Yeah.
so. Birmingham has Time Inc. and Hoffman Media, like two major national brands, and Des Moines has Meredith, which has a vast number of other magazines. Can I read you that a little bit?
Sure.
And Des Moines has Meredith, which publishes a vast number of other women's titles, for the most part.
Okay.
Huh.
So, what? Tell us a little bit about what you were doing in New York. What your first efforts were in the writing
Sure thing.
realm.
When I went to New York City, I thought I would just jump into the largest pool of writing jobs and meet some of the most influential people in the industry. So I went there and had a position at Food Arts, which is a business-to-business magazine covering the chef. It's a business-to-business magazine covering the restaurant and hotel industry.
Okay. And what did you do with them? Was this your first job
Yes.
out of college? And where did you go to college, and where did you come from?
Well, I grew up.
Originally.
Oh, sorry.
It's a lot of questions. Sorry, throwing them at you.
I grew up on Long Island, in the
Ah.
eastern part,
Where in Eastern Long Island?
in between Southampton and Riverhead.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Southampton is where I went to 4th grade and lived every summer there. My family lived there forever and generations, and yeah, neat. So I know the whole area. Yeah.
Indeed, like it's a really beautiful place. We were a few miles from the beach, quiet little fishing village. Lots of people who live there year round. Potato farm next door. I mean,
Yeah. Carl Yastrzemski grew up on a potato farm in Southampton, the famous Boston Red Sox. Yeah.
yeah.
He used to hit potatoes with a stick or something. That's how he learned. I made that part up.
Is that? I was going to say, hitting potatoes. Is that how you got interested in food? And no. So
No.
I'm sorry. I'm throwing you another question. But so you were from a Long Island, and did you grow up around food, and your family have a strong food presence, or?
Yeah, growing up, I always loved to eat. Growing up, I don't know any other kids my age who were just itching to eat mussels or lobster or all the other great local seafood. And as I grew, I became more interested in cooking it and learning more about it. And that was really what I think steered me this way.
And did you pursue it right away in college? Like, did you go to college, university, knowing that you wanted to do this?
Absolutely not. I went to the College of William and Mary in Virginia, and when I walked through the doors on the first day, I thought I was going to be a business major. After struggling and failing miserably at those courses, after about a year and a half, I decided that I should really do what I love, not what I thought I should do. And I spent a lot of time at the student newspaper and quickly realized that food was the only thing I really cared about enough to follow it.
Huh. Wait, so you wrote about food in college
I did.
for the student paper?
I did.
I do not remember any columns on food. I read my college newspaper religiously, and I don't remember ours having anything about food. Did you start a food column there? or-
Well, before me there wasn't much food. After me there also probably wasn't much food, but I found it.
I mean,
And
students don't go out to eat a whole lot. They're eating like in the cafeteria, and they're eating fast food, and they're
Bar
Yeah,
food?
Bar
food. Yeah, I mean, rich kids, poor kids, middle class kids. Everybody's eating. Everybody's just eating greasy food mostly in college. But you found a niche where people were interested in your opinions on local restaurants.
I did. There were a few restaurants. There were a few cheap eats. There was a little bit of what you can do for $10 in your dorm kitchen,
Oh, that's
Right.
clever.
which did very well for me later on when I was in New York working on $3 in my dorm kitchen.
Well, what was the most creative?
You remembered something
yeah.
that you
What
had
was the
written
most
about?
creative cheap eat you thought of for dorm cooking?
I think I lived on baked ziti.
Ah.
Baked ziti.
Well, that's a step up from the ramen.
I was going to say
gonna-
ramen noodles and mac and
Yeah.
cheese, and of course we had hot plates were illegal in our dorm. We had to go use them in some common area, but everybody had them. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if it were now, I would have been eating those ramen bricks as sandwiches, but I wasn't quite that far ahead of it back then.
So you did that in New York for how long?
So from Food Arts, I had a short and wonderful period at Gourmet magazine, and I freelanced at a few other places while working 2 other jobs to make the ends meet. And after about 2 years of that, I was quickly burning out. And right then, I got the opportunity to work at Cottage Living in Birmingham.
Okay.
And I'd been previously, and it's a really beautiful place with a number of very passionate people with great food sense. So when the opportunity came up, I jumped on it.
And you had already lived in Virginia, so it wasn't like a culture shock to be in the South. It was
No, I really love the South for its small cities that are very close-knit and welcoming.
And the food culture, the passionate people in Birmingham, but what was the, what kind of things interested you specifically in Birmingham? Is there a strong food culture? Is it?
Yeah, there's a very strong food culture in terms of the restaurants and the farmers that work with the chefs and the local folks. But I didn't know that going in. Mm-hmm. When I moved to Birmingham, I had no preconceptions about what life would be like there. So I was very, very pleasantly surprised to be welcomed into the community by the chefs and the people that I worked with and the community.
So you were going to college as an editor, or as just a writer, or?
I was its assistant food editor.
Okay.
So I was working with the food editor.
Okay.
Now, can you explain to me what being an editor or an assistant editor means? Like, what does that look like?
It really depends on the title, but for the most part, it's a lot of wrangling. We're working with writers and photographers and that are usually out of house, and then in house we work with the production department to get the pages laid out, the test kitchen to get recipes tested or developed.
Oh.
And then everybody else at the company just to make everybody else that makes the whole process happen.
So do you sit in a room like and brainstorm too? Is it like a lot of collaborative work? And
it is. All the editors talk with each other constantly. Ideas bounce back and forth from the test kitchen and all over. And a lot of it happens in the office, but a lot of it happens out of the office too. Like your brain never really stops working on it.
And so how did you get from Birmingham to New Orleans? If you're loving the South and what's going on there, but what was your introduction to this city?
Well, when I got to Birmingham, I was so much closer to New Orleans that I found myself here a lot more often. The first time was actually for a story. We were working with Cafe Reconcile and Emerald to do a story on them for the magazine. And just seeing getting to meet the city after I had read and heard so much about it was a really life-changing experience. This was back in 2006 or 2007, and just coming here, just seeing the soul of the city and everything that everyone was doing really touched me.
That's beautiful. And I think people come here and you either have an experience like that or they miss it. But you're interested in people's stories, right? And culture of a place. So do you remember having one experience that stands out that shines through and you were like, I have to move there? Or was it just a feeling?
Well, it was a strong attraction that first time I came, but it grew every time I came back. After Cottage Living closed, I freelanced in Birmingham for a while, kept coming back, and then eventually went back to Long Island. kept coming back here. Like this was the southern touchstone that kept like calling me back. And it wasn't until I was here in 2011 that I was here on a 10-day vacation after a very busy, stressful summer. Day 2, I was like, I need to be here. Like I need to be with these people. I need to eat this food. I need to really find out what it's like here.
And so you made your way here. You made it happen, and
Did you get the job first, or did you?
I did.
Okay, so you got the Louisiana cooking job.
I did. I was here on vacation, as I said, and after day 2, I knew that I wanted to be here, but I didn't want to make myself look for a job while I was here because I was trying to relax. But the day that I went home, I looked and found this job, and I actually knew the magazine's former publisher, Romney Richard, who started the magazine 15 years ago. And 6 weeks later, I was here.
Wow. 6 weeks later, you living here.
Yeah.
Unpacked your boxes, and you were in a place. And
Well, I haven't quite unpacked my boxes. The boxes were here, though.
all right. Well, it looks like it's time to introduce your +1. Can you tell us who she is?
Well, let me introduce you to Elisa Munoz.
Hi.
Welcome.
hi.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for
Yeah.
joining us.
Now, who is she, and why did you invite her?
So Alyssa is one of my best friends from Birmingham, who is the director of markets for the Crescent City Farmers Market.
Yay.
I'm actually the market manager, so
Okay.
great.
Well, so I just
The
gave you
market
permission.
manager
Yes.
for Crescent City Markets.
Crescent City Farmers Market.
Crescent City Farmers Market.
Yes.
Wow. And how long have you been in New Orleans?
I have been in New Orleans for about 3 years. I was born in Baton Rouge. Then we left for a while because my parents have wanderlust. Then I came back for college at LSU. Then I left again to go to Birmingham. And then I came back in whatever 3 years ago was, 2011, I guess.
Now, had y'all stayed in touch and you knew
Yes.
Daniel was here? And
He was actually sleeping on my couch that 10-day vacation.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
So you are one of those wonderful people living here that helped inspire him to come back.
I mean, I don't want to say that for sure, but yes, probably.
Cool.
Well, you enabled him to sleep on your couch, to have those experiences, so that's pretty great.
Sleeping on couches is kind of a big New Orleans experience.
I was reading a I don't know what it's called because I'm not very computer savvy, but it was like interesting articles on this site called Gourmetro. Oh no! Is that a sign? Now, I was led to that, but it's. Can you tell us what Gourmetro is or why it's not what
No,
you want it to be? I don't know.
Oh no! So the Gourmetro was a blog that I started in New York just when I moved there, and it chronicled my life and times back then. You will see some of the things that we mentioned earlier, like the cheap eats and the recipes for $10.
I thought it was fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
And witty. I did notice though, it's not your name.
It is not.
Who's Skip, and why?
Well,
Skip?
Oh, that's your pseudonym?
That is
This
my
your
pseudonym.
Nom de plume?
My nom de plume, exactly.
Nom de keyboard or whatever? Yeah.
Well, when I started at my college newspaper, there were 3 Dans, and the eldest did not want that, so I became Skip. So that
You weren't running from the law or
I was
anything
not
like
running
that.
from the law, so but
You
I wanted to
threatened
keep
Big
my options
Dan.
open in case I had. Yes.
Yeah.
So okay.
Yes.
And how did you choose the name Skip?
I didn't. It was assigned to me.
Really?
Yes.
For real?
Oh yeah.
By who?
By the eldest Dan Miller. Yeah.
All
Dan
right.
Miller just got outed.
Yeah, he did.
Outed in what way?
Outed in
Yeah,
that he made
he's-
Dan skip his name or change his name to Skip.
Oh. Okay, I thought you meant there was some other scandal going on with Dan right now. The other
No.
Dan. Okay. Breaking news.
Breaking news.
Dan Miller, working
Everyone
for the NSA.
knows.
Did you have a problem with Skip, or have you
No.
embraced it?
No, I embraced it, and so when back in 2006, when I started this blog, lots of people were blogging, and I used a pseudonym because I did not want the blog to define me at that time. I wanted to be able to tell people about it on my terms rather than have them find it.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting. So then, was that liberating? I mean, you sort of had so you could have like sort of like a second personality that you could invent, and you know.
Well, it could have been, but I was not nearly as adventurous, perhaps, as I could have been with a pseudonym.
So was anything else fictionalized besides your name in there, or just?
I would probably call the contents of that blog creative nonfiction.
Creative nonfiction, all right.
Those events probably happened, and there may be names, but you know, I may have taken some creative liberty.
All right.
With some of it.
So, Elisa, since Daniel's moved to New Orleans, have you seen any of the Skip persona, or that was pre y'all didn't know each other then?
We did not know each other then.
'Cause
Although you did some gourmetro in Birmingham, right?
I did a little bit.
Just a little bit. But it may have been pre our friendship.
Yeah, that was.
So how'd you become friends in Birmingham? What was it? What?
We met at a beer festival.
At a beer festival.
We did.
Great. Cool.
Yeah, we bonded over rhubarb. I don't remember how that conversation started because it was a beer festival. But I remember that I was supposed to then go to his office at Cottage Living to pick up some rhubarb. But somehow I couldn't get there, so the rhubarb went bad. But our friendship stayed good.
Nice. Now, New Orleans changes people, inevitably. It's impossible to live here and be involved in any way, engaged, without it changing you in huge ways, for the good, for the bad, or whatever. But so both of you, your friendship formed in Birmingham, and now you've both been here for various amount of time. Now, you know, how different would you, how would you describe ways in which Daniel, for example, Daniel's changed since he's been here? What are things that have happened to him you notice as a friend? I mean, obviously professionally he's developed or whatever, but as a friend, how's he?
Dan seems content here, content and happy.
More than he was in Birmingham?
Well, when he and I were friends, was kind of a transitional period in both of our lives. We're both sort of freelance sort of stuff, so I feel like that's kind of a stressful time just in general. So, yeah, and Dan is kind of a Southerner at heart, but not totally a Southerner, and I feel like New Orleans kind of blends those things about very Southern, but also is not totally deep South, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
So, I don't know. Dan seems right at home here.
And how has New Orleans changed Elisa from the time that you knew her in Birmingham?
I would have to say that she also seems happier here. But no,
no, like drunker,
no drunker.
Hair color change, that's too easy.
My hair color changes relatively often-ish. We've probably both gained weight.
Oh yeah.
Well, that goes without saying. That's everybody in this room and everybody listening. Pretty
And
much
I was
lives here, yeah.
to me that's the criteria.
Yeah.
If you come here and don't gain weight, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah,
absolutely.
you're
not
just
enjoying
visiting.
life.
Yeah, you haven't
My
really.
first summer here, I lost 18 pounds. But
What?
that's because I work outside.
Oh, I
in
thought you were
the
going to say you
summer.
got
In the
typhoid
summer.
or something.
Outside.
So I sweated 18 pounds out the first summer that I was out at the market.
So
it was so
so when you
hot.
got here, you worked at the market right away.
Right away, I moved
By the
here
way, that's
to
where
work
I
at the
know you
market.
from. Well, I know you from a couple things, but that was the
Yes.
main way that I got to know you, and didn't know you were coming tonight. But big fan of the market. We talk about sometimes in the show. So
Great,
right
me
away,
too.
you get this great. I mean, in a lot of ways, it has to be. I mean, I don't know if your job's the dream job, but it's a dream sort of kind of environment. To be
Yeah,
working
no,
in,
it's
I would
great.
think. Yeah,
It was a perfect job to move down here for. I wanted to come down here, but I was not in any position to move down here without a job. So I decided I wanted to move down here, and then through a series of events, I got this job very quickly, and then I lived here 3 weeks later.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you've been doing it for 3 years.
I have.
Out in the hot sun that makes you sweat off 18 pounds
Yes.
the first
Well, I
year.
have since
Okay.
gained those pounds back, but I was not quite used to that.
And just to clarify for some folks, there's a bunch of different kind of market-ish things going on now, but the Crescent City one is the one that's in Uptown on Tuesdays.
Yes.
And tell us your whole schedule.
Sure. We're in Uptown Tuesday mornings from 9 to 1 in the old Uptown Square. We are Thursday afternoons from 3 to 7 in front of the American Can Company, and then Saturday mornings we are at 700 Magazine Street, Magazine at Girard from 8 a.m. to noon.
Wow.
And we have those 3 farmers markets.
And
Awesome.
y'all have been established for a long time. I mean,
We celebrated our 18th birthday last September, so
That's
almost
incredible.
19 years is when our first Saturday market started.
There's all kinds of cities around America that are jumping on this sort of, locally grown thing and all that's happening. But New Orleans was doing this a long time ago with y'all.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
with us, and even before that with the French market, which is
Right,
like
right. The
oldest
oldest
public.
market is-
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly. So certainly.
So what do you do? Like when you were outside in the sun and lost 18 pounds, what was your
Did you get
position?
skin cancer too? I mean, that's a lot of sun. to
No,
lose
but
18
you
pounds.
should
Sorry.
see how tan I get in the summer. My dad is Hispanic, so that's in me anyway. And I get I don't want to say embarrassingly tan, but kind of embarrassingly tan, especially my neck because I have short hair. So I, like Dan, as an editor, am a little bit of a wrangler as my job. So we're wrangling. So we have the vendors, so the farmers and food makers and fishers and all of that are there. Then we have the customers, certainly that are coming, who are fantastic, who want to connect with the farmers. So we're there making those connections for them and with them, alongside them. And then we have lots of programs that we're doing as well as part of the market. So we're trying to get moms to market. We're trying to get low-income folks to market. We're trying to get students to market. We're students, both like college students, and we have kids that come through market where we do all sorts of programming. So there's just a lot of balls in motion, and it's my job to make sure none of them fall and crack, pretty much.
Wow, that's a lot of responsibility. I mean, a lot of interesting
Yes.
aspects, though. It probably never gets boring.
Oh, and there's so much drama too, because you have all the. I mean, you could do a reality show. I thought. I mean, I talked to Emery about this a little bit. I know you work with.
Oh, you certainly
Yeah, you have all the. I mean, she loves her job, but you have you have all these farmers that are having all these personal dramas, and they're mostly small farmers, and they're really dependent on the weather and all kinds of funky things that are happening.
Yeah, I mean,
and who
it's-
shows up that week, and who's able to bring stuff that week, and who isn't.
Right, and customers, and
Yeah.
it's their livelihood. And what's interesting is
And you're outdoors if it rains, you're just
exactly.
stuck.
If
you have
it's
the best
freezing,
product, but, yeah.
if it's with everything. So the customers and the vendors of farmers markets are a very different demographic, but they're meeting at the farmers market, which is, I think it's awesome. It's a chance for people to connect and to meet and all of that, but it also just makes for a lot of personalities happening in one place at one time, with like tents that could fly away and things like that.
I've actually seen that. I want to ask Daniel something, though, just to shift gears a little bit. Tell us about your test kitchen.
So our test kitchen
Yeah.
is staffed with about eight people who cook all day long. They work with
Every day?
Every day.
What?
Not just for Louisiana Cooking, though.
Oh, okay.
So they work with all of the other titles that Hoffman Media owns as well.
What are
So
some of those?
Taste of the South, Cooking with Paula Dean, Tea Time, Southern Lady, Fresh Style doesn't have a test kitchen. Cut that one out. The Cottage Journal, and Celebrate.
So, where is the test kitchen, and what you discuss with people you work with what recipes you want to put in, and then what are they doing? I don't understand. They're like trying it out and making sure it tastes fantastic.
Well, yes. But our recipes come from a number of different places. We get some from fantastic Louisianians like Marcel Bienvenu and chefs from around the state, other writers like Jada Cody and Baton Rouge, and some of them are developed by us.
So do you have eight? You have 8 full-time employees, 8 full-time chefs, I guess, or cooks that are working there 40 hours a week or so, or just all the time, and just working on these recipes. And what percentage of the recipes that are being proposed to them that they test are actually making it into one of those magazines? Then,
by the time it gets to them, most of the recipes are solid in theory, and part of their job is to take that from the theory into the fact.
So sometimes they may even refine what they receive, what shows up in print's different than what they're given, because they realize, well, yeah, you chef can do it that way or whatever,
they're
but
translating.
the actual reader is going to
Exactly.
want it a little differently, or phrased a little differently, or maybe a little different proportions or whatever, huh? Yeah.
Exactly. Just like Margo said, they're translating
Yeah, right.
from the mind of a chef to the page, so that someone who's picking up any of these magazines can, have what the chef intended. Because the inside of a chef's mind is practically insane. It's a brilliant, wonderful place, but translating that to written words it's a process.
Now, getting back to writing, so has your food palette evolved over time because you're writing about food, and I don't know how to phrase the question, but has there been experiences along the way that you've hated a food, or you'd never even heard of a food, but you had to write about it, and then after doing this for so long, you've learned to love it? Or do you hate it even more, but you have to write something positive about it?
I don't think there are any foods that I really hate that aren't ridiculous processed foods.
Okay.
Anything that I've come across that I've been skeptical about, I have just kept trying until I found the nuances and I could appreciate them. Like olives are a great example. When I grew up, the family ate canned black olives, which are gross.
Yeah.
Don't mean to diss your family, but they're kind of gross.
But they're kind of gross. But as I tried different ones, you can see the differences between the green olives and the black olives and the Greek olives and the Italian olives.
Sure.
And how those olives can affect olive oil. So everything's connected. And
Right.
the more food I've eaten, the more I've seen that it's all connected.
Do you think writing about food has helped you enjoy eating more, or has it caused you any anxiety because you're analyzing it so much?
I do analyze it a lot. I don't think that lessens my enjoyment, but sometimes it lessens the enjoyment of those around me.
Someone like your friend here, Elisa.
But when my girlfriend and I are cooking and we sit down for a nice meal that we've worked all afternoon on, I will love what she's cooked and just pick what I've cooked apart. That is when I wish I could turn the analysis off. But the thing I love about food writing and food overall is that it's such an immersive, multi-sensory experience. When you're cooking, you get the taste and the touch and the sight and the smell. And then when you write about it and you read it, it brings it all back to you, and all those memories come to life again.
Now, have you gone to cooking school at all? Have you decided to take a few classes here or there? Or?
I've actually not. I would love to, but at this point I've not.
Doesn't sound like you need it. I'm just wondering if that would be something that'd be kind of interesting to you.
I think anybody could use it.
Right.
There's
It's
always
probably hard to
something
find
learn.
the time for it, though, isn't there?
Yeah.
So you've never worked in a restaurant or had any experiences like that?
Not in the kitchen. Like I've worked in the front of the house and the service end of it, but never in the kitchen.
Does working in the front of the house or in service inform your writing in any way? I mean, or it's not really relevant? Did it give you insight into the struggles, or give you sympathy, or I don't know?
It can certainly give you sympathy for the chefs, and it probably hasn't affected my writing so much as it's affected my informed my ability as an editor and someone who has to work with people, or someone has to work with you. Like that sounds terrible, but someone who anyone who works with anyone else can learn a lot from working in a restaurant in the front of house.
I like that. You can, and it translates into a lot of other industries and fields, and I would imagine doing what you do, working with farmers and coordinating programs, and has a similar, you have to be
it doesn't feel
collaborator
that much different from when I waited tables. Just like, I mean, it feels different, but the pace of lots of people sort of, I don't have lots of tables, but I have lots of different customers with the kids and the vendors and the customers, that kind of thing. So it's kind of when I'm on my shift at the market, like you have to be on all the time, happy. It doesn't matter what's happening, and that's a lot like waiting tables. And the customer, the vendor, the kid is always right.
Yeah, and you're representing the establishment.
Exactly.
So
and
you have to maintain, and you have to
Right.
make sure that all those people feel taken care of. And
Right, because for some people, I'm representing all the farmers they've ever met, or the idea of a farmer's market.
Right.
That they, if they've never been to a farmer's market, sometimes I'm the first person that they talk to. So I have to represent all of that, farmers, other shoppers, everything. And with the vendors, a lot of times to the farmers, I look more like customers than I do a farmer. So I represent all the customers if we're talking about something often.
Yeah, I would think, too, that part of the appeal, I mean, people are at the market for all different things, right? For health, for local things, all that. But this part of the appeal, too, is a little more personal in the sense of, like, you're going there and you're the customer of the farmer for the moment. It's so different than getting, your lettuce in the produce section at Walmart.
Exactly. Everybody feels like the farmer's friend.
Yeah.
And like you're the only customer there, and you're the one that, they're helping right then, and they grew that broccoli that you're eating. And I think there's such a interest in farming and agriculture and all of that, so it makes people feel like they're sort of not being a farmer, but that they're in on that. Like they know a farmer. They have a farmer friend. They know where their food came from. So it just gets people involved with their food.
Well, I hate to interrupt that, but now it's time for a segment we like to call Off the Menu. These are questions that you will not be asked regularly in the food journalism field. So prepare yourself for. Let's see. We're going to give you a particularly difficult one, Daniel. So you have to answer. You can't plead the fifth. Come up with something. What meal would you wish on your worst enemy?
Let me 1 second with this.
I know you like to keep things positive, so we're going to force you to. I know it would involve canned black olives, I'm sure.
Oh, that's perfect. Thank you. I've forgotten about those already. I think about them so infrequently.
you block them out.
All
Anything
right.
else?
Okay, so it's going to start with a spinach wrap.
A cold spinach wrap?
Cold spinach wrap, and a big one, too. It's got to be at least 12 inches, 14 inches.
And
On that, we have melted peeps, canned black olives, and overcooked salmon. With shredded romaine lettuce. No, shredded iceberg.
Iceberg, nice.
It's like an Easter taco.
It's like a twisted Easter taco in prison. You're like, oh, that's really rough. Okay.
all right, Alyssa,
Yes.
if you could eat a meal with one person, dead or alive, who would it be? And it doesn't have to be their worst meal. Any meal.
Okay,
any
I was going to say,
type
do
of-
I have to invite them
No.
to Dan's meal?
No. It can be your dream meal, but who is somebody that you would love to break bread with, dead or alive?
I mean, I feel like this is sort of well, I have a few people that I would like to break bread with. The two that come to mind instantly, can I do two? I'm doing two.
Sure, go ahead.
One, and I feel like this is kind of cliched or cheesy, but President Barack Obama, I just really want to eat and drink beer with him and just find out what's going on in there. Yeah, so that's one. And then the other one would probably be a writer that I love that I recently read one of her books, and I thought I'd like to sit down and eat and drink with her. For some reason, eating goes together with drinking beer with me, but is Anne Lamott.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I saw her speak in New Orleans in
What?
2006.
Was
yeah.
it so great?
It was great, yeah.
Yeah, I'm feeling her right now.
Yeah.
So I would like to sit down and eat and drink with her.
What's her new book out?
Well, it's not a new book. It's just I'm rereading a book of hers.
Okay.
Which one?
I can't think of what it's called right now, but it's the one where it has the sign on the front.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
read a few
It was
of them.
Plan 9? No.
Plant.
Was that Plan B? Oh.
Something like that. It'll come to
Speaking
me.
of books, were you involved with a book? I don't know if you edited or had something to do with a book from, I want to say, Sun Yi was the woman's name. Is that
Kim Sune was the
Kim
editor.
Sune? Was the editor? Okay,
Kim
sorry.
Sune was the editor that I worked with at Cottage Living
Uh-huh.
in Birmingham, and she is just about to come out with her second book, her first cookbook, and I was involved with helping her test some recipes, and I think she even printed a recipe of mine in there.
Oh, wow.
What was the recipe?
It was a peach tart tatin.
Oh, that sounds good. Describe it for us.
Testing that recipe was wonderful. Well, so you have a buttery crust on the bottom, some fresh, juicy peaches, a caramel sauce, and then it is all, it's cooked in a, well, okay, let's start over again. You take these juicy, wonderful peaches, and you caramelize them in a cast iron skillet with some sugar until they're nice and caramelized. Top them with a buttery crust and bake it until that crust is golden and perfect. Carefully, ever so carefully, flip it, and you have this tart tatin with the beautifully browned bottom, caramelized, almost like not quite blackened, but thoroughly cooked top, and all of this caramel sauce. You do have to be so careful flipping it, though, because it will destroy you. Because the caramel sauce in there is probably 350 to 400 degrees.
Oh, wow.
Now, is your the cast iron pot that you use for testing, is that a pot you've carried with you from New York, or is it something you bought
No,
when
this
you got
this is an we'll call it a new heirloom. It will one day be an heirloom, but right now it's in its infancy.
And it already is part of a recipe in a book. That's pretty exciting. That will be a nice heirloom pot.
You got to inscribe that on the bottom of it. You know, it's history. Yeah. So
Yeah.
the descendants you pass it on to will know that's the pot that I used for that recipe. Yeah.
Yes, because if they don't use that pot, their peach tart tatin will not have the slightest lingering flavors of bacon from Cochon Butcher.
Nice. Oh.
Now, this may be getting a little personal, but you mentioned your girlfriend. So Elisa is not your girlfriend.
No.
And who is your girlfriend? Is she in the food business?
No, my girlfriend Krista is not in the food business. She is an environmental scientist for a shipbuilding company.
Oh.
Originally from West Virginia, was also drawn down here in 2006, and has fallen in love with the city as well.
Now, y'all met here?
Yes.
And how does an environmentalist I don't even know what you said. What is she? An environmental?
She's an environmental scientist, environmental
Scientist.
engineer.
Oh, it sounds like
Okay.
there's lots of that down here. Yeah.
Yeah, she basically she helps the company find environmentally positive solutions to their waste problems.
So how did you meet her?
We met online, and we designed our date so that we would have a very easy out if it was terrible, and it wasn't.
Now, what was that easy out?
We met up for a drink at Cure, followed by
Oh.
sushi at Origami.
All
So
right.
At any point on that Tuesday or Wednesday evening, we
A
can
few
like,
blocks
yeah,
apart. Yeah, right there on Ferret.
It's
Looks
work,
like I
right?
really need to
Yeah.
get it's really. I'm just so tired. But
Did you not say that? Did
No.
you know on the first date that you were going to ask her out again?
oh yeah, like it was pretty much instant. So
All right.
yeah.
And Elisa, do you knowing Daniel for a while now? Did you meet her right
You
away?
like her
or-
okay?
Yeah, I was.
She passes the test.
She passes the test.
All
Okay.
right.
I'm not
You
sure what
give
the
her
test
thumb-
is, but I know that she passed it.
Is Alyssa your oldest friend in town here? Do you know anyone else longer you've known Alyssa?
Actually, I do. I knew. I'm sorry. It's true.
It's okay.
You know
it's okay.
it's true. You know
it's
it
okay.
too.
I know.
There's one other person I met in Birmingham 2 years before I moved to Birmingham.
Okay.
So she's from here and moved back just about the same time Elisa did. So I was really lucky to have a few close friends when I moved here. It helped the transition a lot.
We're going to have to start playing couple degrees of separation of Daniel, because he keeps getting it seems like people are moving back, or maybe no, it's you, Elisa, because he slept on your couch. So
I'm the connector here.
You're the connector. Y'all, it looks like, unfortunately, the fake stars in the French Quarter ceiling are starting to twinkle, and we're out of time, unfortunately. And we really appreciate y'all coming, because I know you're both very busy in your fields, and so we want to thank you. And before we let you go, we would like you both to give us website information and hours of the farmers market, the Crescent City Farmers Market, once again. And Daniel, will you please give us the website to Louisiana Cooking and how people can, where they can find the fabulous publication?
Sure thing. Louisiana Cooking is published every other month and widely available on newsstands around New Orleans and Louisiana. Its website, louisianacookin.com, is frequently updated. And we also have a tablet edition, so if you want to get back issues, that's the place to do it.
Excellent.
And Crescent City Farmers Market is Tuesday mornings from 9 to 1 in Uptown Square, or I guess the old Uptown Square. Thursday afternoons from 3 to 7 in front of the American Can Company. And Saturday mornings from 8 a.m. until noon, magazine at Girard. We also have a great website, crescentcityfarmersmarket.org. You can find us on Twitter at CCFM Tweets and Facebook.
Well, our special guest tonight was Daniel Schumacher, and Daniel's plus one was Elisa Munoz. You can find out more about Louisiana Cooking Magazine and about the Crescent City Farmers Market at itsneworleans.com. Good night. Midnight Menu Plus One is produced by Grant Morris, and Chris Keogh is our technical director. And this fabulous audio quality that you hear is by PreSonus Audio Electronics. Makes all kinds of wonderful things. Visit presonus.com for more information. You can get in touch with us here at Midnight Menu Plus One by going to our website, itsneworleans.com, and from there you can follow us on Twitter, find us on Facebook, sign up for our mailing list, get all kinds of swag. And while you're at itsneworleans.com, you can listen to other episodes of Midnight Menu Plus One and our other shows, Happy Hour, Mindset, True to the Game, Vietnola, Out to Lunch, and others. And if you listen to the show on iTunes, please rate us and review us. It helps other people to find us. Midnight Menu Plus One is a production of INO Broadcasting for itsneworleans.com. Till we meet here again, I am Ray Kanata.
And I'm Margo Moss. Thanks.
You know Labor Day signals the unofficial end of summer, but not the end of your outdoor projects. Lowe's helps you do it right and helps you save with Labor Day deals throughout the store. Shop now and get 2 bags of Stay Green potting mix for $12. And keep your lawn looking neat and trim with a Craftsman 2-cycle 17-inch gas string trimmer, now $20 off at just $119. Whatever's still on your to-do list this Labor Day, do it right for less. Start with Lowe's. Offers valid through 8/28. Soil offer excludes Alaska and Hawaii, U.S. only.